Hi, I'm Carisha Devlin, co-CEO of Annie's Project. Welcome to the In Plain Talk podcast. In the next few episodes, we'll be exploring and digging deep into the topic of crop insurance. These episodes are sponsored by USDA RMA, award number RMA 23 CPT 00-13617. In this episode, we'll be learning about marketing strategies in crop insurance. I'm excited to welcome Toni Dunker to our podcast this week. I've had the pleasure of knowing Toni for close to 20 years, and I've had the opportunity to hear her present many times. And she really has that uncanny ability to take complicated topics like marketing and break them down in understandable terms. Toni is an ag risk management advisor for Advanced Trading Inc., and she's headquartered in Quincy, Illinois. She's a licensed Series 3 and 30 broker, as well as a licensed livestock risk protection insurance agent. And she has spent the last 24 years developing and implementing marketing plans with livestock and grain farming operations. So welcome, Toni. And before we jump into all things marketing, I wanted to just ask you to introduce yourself if there's some things that you'd like to share with the audience.
So I just want to share also that I've been working with Carisha on Annie's project in particular for a number of years. And I feel like that is a really important program that is being delivered out there alongside with what you're doing with these podcasts at this time. So um, my background and my experience with that is kind of part of my heart, I guess you might say, because I think it's really important for those that are interested and need more information to just go out and get that knowledge by doing things just like this. So thanks, Carisha, for having me here.
Well, thank you, Toni. And it's meant a lot to me to have you join me in so many of our Annie's Project classes over the years, and just your passion for educating and empowering women is really inspiring.
Very good.
So when we look at crop insurance, and that can seem such a hard topic to wrap your mind around, and then you have marketing, and that can be also a hard topic to wrap your mind around. But really, with the two, there's quite an interrelationship between them. How do the two go hand in hand? Can you give us a little background about that?
So in 1996, the farm program that was released changed crop insurance, and it added a revenue portion to crop insurance. And so what that enabled a farmer to do was it allowed them to be able to market ahead of growing that crop, because not only were they protected on yield, but they're protected on price. Prior to that, you weren't protected on the pricing aspect in the crop insurance. And so it made it a little more challenging and maybe more risk to do forward marketing. We knew we had a bushel guarantee, but we did not have that price guarantee before. And so when they made that change, that allowed a farmer to be able to take advantage of what they expected to grow at times when the markets were giving them opportunity to price. And so a lot of times seasonally, we will see concern come in growing the crop in that May, June, July timeframe before it's harvested. And in the past, it was hard to take advantage of that rally in prices when we got concerned about weather, about not growing a crop, about tightening that supply down, because we knew we had a yield coverage, but we didn't have that revenue coverage. Now we have a revenue product in insurance that allows us to be able to forward price grain, even though we haven't produced it yet. And the importance of that revenue product is that if we would make a sale and we don't grow the bushels, when it comes time to harvest and get that fall pricing period, if we didn't grow the bushels and the price rallied, we are still covered because we're going to get the higher of the two prices, either the fall or the spring price. That enables us to market this crop ahead of time before we know what we have. Now, I would tell you that I'm not going to encourage anyone to go out and sell 100% of their protected crop insurance levels. But I think it makes really good sense to be able to market ahead of time when price is at a place that you want to be selling it at, even though you haven't produced the bushels yet. And that's what that revenue type product will allow you to do. You can price ahead of time and be comfortable that if you don't grow the bushels and the price does rally higher than what the spring price is, you're still covered at the higher price.
So, what marketing strategies can you utilize?
So the first thing I would encourage someone to do when they're getting ready to develop their marketing plan is to get familiar with what kind of cash contracts they can utilize to the places that they sell their crop to. And it's likewise on livestock as well. You need to be familiar with the tools, the marketing tools that are available to you. And you also want to understand how those tools price that product. So um, we can go to the elevator and we can ask them what types of marketing contracts are available and ask for an explanation of how those products are priced. So let's just say that we wanted to price some bushels for delivery out of the bin in December. But today, most of the time, this far out, the basis, the portion that's the difference between the Board of Trade price and your local price, most of the time this far out, it's not going to be very good because they don't need to buy the product yet. They're not hungry for that product. And so um, maybe we just want to be able to lock in the futures price, which is determined at the Chicago Board of Trade, but leave that cash component, the basis, open. So we would look at using a hedge to arrive contract through the elevator. That may be one of the types of contracts that the elevator would offer you to be able to use. There might be another one called a minimum price contract, where you're just establishing a floor price, yet if the price rallies, you're still able to take advantage of the higher price, but you have a floor price in place. So there are many different types of cash contracts available out there besides using an account with someone like myself where you could hedge or use puts and calls. There are many different types of marketing tools available to you, but what you have to do is the research. You have to go to the places that you are selling to and find out what tools they have available for you to utilize as well.
That really segues into my next question. I was going to ask about implementing those strategies. So, one of the steps would be to go to wherever you sell your products and ask them what they have available. What are some other things that our listeners could be thinking about?
So once they find out what tools are available, they need to understand those tools a little bit better. So I think the next step is get an explanation of how those tools function. What happens if you are short bushels and you can't deliver them?
Mhm.
Most of the time, when you're working with an elevator, you're obligating bushels to that elevator. Okay. So, one way or the other, you're either going to buy them back if you're short bushels, or you buy elsewhere and you deliver bushels against that contract. So, that's a part of that contract that you need to understand. These are all contracts. So, you are committing bushels to the elevator. That piece of the marketing tool you also need to understand. Then the next step is figuring out what you want to protect. What is your risk? So your risk is the price going lower if you're a producer. And how can you protect that price from going lower? The other part of that is um, when are you obligated to deliver those bushels? What's the time frame when you would have to have those bushels delivered to the elevator? Okay. So as I walk forward and build my marketing plan, I need to understand the tools. I need to understand what it obligates me to the elevator. And then I need to sit down and figure out when do I want to make those sales? When would I want to deliver those bushels to the elevator and give them possession? of those bushels.
So really it does take time to think through all of those things. And our listeners, if they're wanting to approach this and use marketing in perhaps a different way than they have been doing, it's really important for them to sit down and, like you said, draw up a marketing plan. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy,
We can use a
right?
notebook.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I start out many times. I have a piece of paper. I write out the bushels that I'm expecting to grow, and then I write out what I'm covered with my crop insurance. What's my guarantee? And then I follow up with what are my pricing targets? And of course, I feel like you need to know your cost of production before you
Mhm.
establish those pricing targets. And then once I have those pricing targets set, then I want to go make an offer with the elevator so that they're out there working. So when we follow up and develop the marketing plan, we're going to um, write out the different time frames that we want to move bushels so that we can create cash flow. But what we don't want to have happen is our marketing plan be dictating when sales have to be made to meet cash flow obligations. We want to either have those bushels sold ahead of time so we know we've got that cash flow coming in, or we want to be prepared ahead of time rather than saying, oh, I need to get some money generated, so I've got to go make a sale today. Don't let the marketing plan be dictated by cash flow needs. Let the marketing plan hit those targets ahead of time if it can and make the sales ahead of time.
So what if we have a listener out there that's listening to you and is thinking, wow, I wish I had someone like that to work with. What advice would you give someone? Like where would they go? Who is the type of person that they would look for to help them with marketing?
So I think it's really important for them to have a management team around them to help in their decision making. And I think that management team includes their ag lender. I think it includes their cash grain merchant. I think it includes their crop insurance person. And I think it includes their accountant. And I think the last person in that circle around them, for them to get advice from is going to be a broker that can help them understand the contracts and what's available out there.
Where would someone find a broker? Would they ask maybe their local elevator or maybe other farmers if they work with someone like that?
So uh, I think I would probably maybe talk with your lender as well. Maybe an extension person in the area
Mhm.
would have knowledge of who those people are. You can also go to the cmegroup.com website and look up brokers that specialize in different areas. And so I feel like, there are different resources out there where you can find someone, but the important part is that you have to team up with someone that you trust and that is doing risk management, not making trades. I think there's a big difference there. um,
There is a big difference there.
there is a big difference there, and so you need to understand the right ways to do risk management and not trading. Okay.
So, are there any other tools that you would recommend to someone that's wanting to put a risk management plan, marketing plan together?
So um, I feel like, reaching out to resources like what you're putting together here is important. And then I also feel like being able to have someone to bounce that idea off of that you trust is important as well. So if it's a mentor of some sort, or, who are those people that are around you that you trust to help with management decisions? I think that's important. But I also want to emphasize that they need to have an education and understanding of risk
Mm.
management. Okay. There's it's really easy to not want to do risk management when the price rallies. it's really hard to do risk management when the price has not rallied and given you an opportunity to do pricing at levels that you want to be able to take. So being prepared ahead of time and knowing what you would take as far as the price goes is really important. Once you make a sale, it's pretty easy to defend that sale. But if the price rallies up and then it backs off and you didn't make the sale, it gets harder and harder to implement that marketing plan. So make sure that you're prepared ahead of time. Make sure you walk through what your alternatives are, and then, you know, go consult with someone about what you're doing and get your questions answered. That cmegroup.com has a lot of resources on it. I would also suggest, the land grant institutions have a lot of really good resources on their websites that are available for free as well. Iowa State, University of Missouri, University of Illinois, Kansas State. There are a lot of resources available out there.
Excellent points. Do you have any final thoughts for us, Toni?
Um, Planning ahead is probably the first step, and then knowing what you want to do, implementing it, and you know, learning as you go is important as well. You'll learn what you like about certain marketing tools, and you'll learn what you don't like about certain marketing tools. And I will tell you, don't base your marketing this year on what went wrong last year. Okay?
Mhm.
The more you can stay consistent from year to year, the less likely you're going to get the whammy when it comes to prices going against you.
Great advice. Well, thank you, Toni, for giving us some insight into marketing strategies and crop insurance. If you would like to hear more on this topic, check out our webinar series on the Annie's Project YouTube channel. Toni gave a great presentation on how crop insurance can help you with marketing decisions. So she goes into a lot more depth into some of the things that we've been talking about during this podcast. Next week, we will be moving on to talk about crop insurance with specialty crops. We'll be kicking it off to chat about how you can utilize crop insurance with organic crops.